Hi, welcome to another edition of Antique Radio Archaeology. Today we're going to begin the restoration on a 1927 Tower Adventurer cone speaker. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the Tower Manufacturing Corporation. While the details of the Tower Manufacturing Corporation's beginnings are rather vague, based on advertising information, it may have started out as the Scientific Electric Works in 1922. Now, a lot of this information that I figured out, I've actually gotten from an article by Wally Worth in the Antique Radio Classified magazine from September of 1993. And from his research, I was able to do some additional research and actually was able to fill in some of the holes he had in his article. Now, the Scientific Electric Works produced a high-impedance headset and claimed to be worth over $200,000 as a company, which is a lot of money back in the 1920s. In June of 1925, Tower Manufacturing occupied the same address, 98 Brookline Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts, so an assumption can be made that they changed names incorporating the name of the president, Frank Tower, around that time. As a side note, the back of the building, by the way, faces the entrance to Fenway Park in Boston and still exists today. In June of 1925, ads showed a series of horn speakers, including the Meister-Singer horn speaker. It also showed a phonograph adapter. In November of 1925, Tower introduced the Meister-Singer cabinet speaker, which has a horn speaker on its side built inside of a mahogany cabinet. In August of 1926, Tower introduced the Tower cone speaker, which resembled the infamous Western Electric 540 AW speaker, which I had just done a restoration on. In January of 1927, Tower introduced the Meister-Singer cone speaker with an octagonal surround similar to that of the Sonochord speaker. In August of 1927, Tower introduced an ornate drum speaker called the Tower Model 28 with a coat-of-arms style speaker grill along with a line of other ornate speakers. It was that year that Tower realized the popularity of the ship motif, as other manufacturers were capturing a market based on a ship speaker design by a company called Baker Smith Company. Following suit, Tower introduced a line of speakers including the Adventurer cone speaker with a Galleon type ship. They also had a Castle cone speaker and a pirate ship cone speaker. Also in 1927, Tower moved a couple of buildings down to 122 Brookline Avenue, which is the same address as the Automatic Radio Company. In July of 1927, Tower then introduced a line of AB power supplies, so apparently a merger had taken place. They stayed with their line of speakers through 1928, and from there the company became a mystery, as did many before the Great Depression in 1929. So it's a definite interesting history there behind this company, and the amazing thing about it is those four speakers that were introduced, including the Model 28, the Adventurer speaker, the Castle speaker, and the Pirate ship speaker, all seem to have a big following amongst radio collectors today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the one I have here on the bench and see what we need to do to get this thing up and running. So as you can see, I have the speaker frame right here. I do have a RCA Model 100 speaker, which unfortunately has seen better days. However, the driver is fully functional. And I have a little piece of phenolic plate here. And of course I've got a cone that I was able to get from Buford Chidester, along with a couple of cones that I had featured in other restorations that I've done recently. So before we get started, let's take a look at what I'm dealing with and what I'm about to do. What we have here is another driver somebody had just kind of stuck in here, and it probably worked at one time. It, however, is no longer working. The driver itself, I believe, is still good, but it's just not the right thing to do to this speaker with these weak little brackets and stuff like that. Now, there's a guy online, if you look up his videos, he goes by the call sign Radiola Dave. He came up with a solution to the missing drivers on this particular speaker, and that is a big problem. For some reason, those drivers tend to break or whatever, people remove them, and these things become door stops. And a lot of times they're sold as door stops because they're such heavy contraptions here. They can be definitely used for such things. However, that lack of drivers causes kind of a conundrum for us radio collectors, in that trying to restore these things, we can't seem to find those drivers very often. However, what Dave was able to figure out is he can use the driver off a Model 100, RCA Model 100 speaker, mounted slightly differently, and using a phenolic plate for support. And it's a nice clean driver replacement, which looks similar not the same as the driver in the original Adventurer speaker. So I'm going to go ahead and do that modification, because it's much better to have this thing working as a speaker than it is a doorstop, in my opinion. And if I can't get a hold of the right driver, I might as well do what I can to get this thing up and running. So we're going to start by disassembling this, doing a little bit of work on that, and we'll go ahead and start that modification. So I'm going to start by removing this driver. Okay, and then my phenolic plate is actually going to mount here, and the driver is going to mount to the plate itself. So much cleaner installation. Now this thing is in really, really good condition. It does need a little bit of cleanup. I can see some dust on it. Yeah, a little bit dirty. Not a big deal. I can clean that up. The problem that I have, you may have noticed how white this base is. I think somebody replaced the base on this with one they had gotten somewhere else, and possibly had painted the base because it was in horrible condition or whatever. But the problem is it just doesn't match the speaker. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this base, and we're going to try and make it look like the rest of the speaker. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove the driver from this speaker. While I'm at it, I'll take care of this too. I'm actually going to reuse this cord. It does have one repair made to it. It wasn't really a repair, it was just the sheath had broken loose here, and just covered it up to prevent it from going any further. That was it. Okay. So now that all the hardware's off of it, my next step is I need to flip this pin around so that it's up out here, not in here. And that's easy, really easy to do, because this is a magnet. And all I have to do is pull it out, flip it around. There we go. Okay, so here's the template for the Tower Adventure adapter plate for an RCA 100 speaker driver. And it's going to allow me to put a plate there and attach the driver to the plate. Now, I went ahead and measured out all my locations of my drill holes, and I went ahead and used a little screwdriver here to tap in the little starting points. So now I'm going to go down to the drill press and drill those out. So now I'm retapping these existing holes for 6/32 screws. Okay, since I have some 8/32 screws, I'm going to go ahead and tap those for 8/32. Those will be my connections for my speaker cable and my driver leads. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assemble this plate. I'm using existing hardware from the RCA 100 speaker. I need this spacer right here. I put two rather thick washers on there, one thick and one thin washer on this side so that they level out. Okay. Now, in order for me to fit this on here, I'm going to have to cut these off with a Dremel. Okay, I'm going to put some number 8 tabs on these, since I've got number 8 screws down here. 8/32 I should say. And since I've got these open, I'm going to go ahead and put some heat shrink on them, help protect them, because they have gotten old. These wires are really thin. Okay. Okay, as you can see, there's a little screw here. I got to get that out. I'm not going to do it because it's epoxied in, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off. Okay, so now I've got a piece of paper clip, and I used the rest of it on another speaker that I did. I'm just going to go ahead and use this one on this. Alright. There we go. Okay, so I did have to go ahead and disconnect the cable right here from here and route it through the cone, because there is a hole in the cone where the speaker wire passes through. Now it's just a matter of alright, let me go ahead and hook a tone to it. Seems to be working. There you have it. Thanks again, Radiola Dave, for this incredible modification. I definitely couldn't have done this without you. This concludes today's episode. Happy restorations, everybody. Hope to see you again next video.